Alright, now this one shouldn't be too surprising at all. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Moon Days with Michael. I'm your host, the Archangel Michael, and I am cutting out the esoteric middleman and giving you the tools you need to connect yourself right to the source. So this is the final episode of us talking about the Horseman of the Apocalypse, aka the Horseman negative demonic side of the Four Archangles. Now this last one is the Horseman of Death, aka the side of Gabriel, which is weird because Gabriel also rules over death and transformation, which how exactly are they different? Well, they are, but they aren't. What? So let's talk about it, right? So first thing first, keep in mind if you actually notice a pattern here, you notice anything about the Four Archangles and the colors that they represent. Michael's like this reddish pink, Raphael's purple, Uriel's blue, and Gabriel's green, right? Now if you actually look at the the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, Gabriel and Michael's color of their horses are actually very similar to them usually, right? They're angelic colors. The reason for this is because their horsemen aren't really too far off from what they actually do. So with that being said, with this being the Horsemen of Death and Gabriel having to do with death and transformation, I wonder what this is going to be about. So before we even talk about it, let's just talk about the color real quick. The color of the Horseman of Death is this dapple green or this pale green or like green-gray. The rider is typically portrayed as a skeleton, which I mean, you know, ooh, yeah. So this is the final step in the apocalypse, the part where everybody supposedly dies, or is it?
No.
Well, that depends on if you view the apocalypse as something just being revealed or changing, or, you know, actually the world ending in a giant ball of fire, Jesus coming down from the sky, and everybody comes back on life. But this is the final step of experience in general. Why? If you actually look at the four royal archangels and you actually look at the Horsemen of the Apocalypse and all the different experiences and everything that we have gone through, you realize that death is the end for a reason, but it isn't the end.
I don't get it. Me neither.
So death is used to make room for something new, right? Letting go of something to make room for something new to take its place. Trees lose their leaves and they go through the winter and then they grow new ones, right? They make room for something new. Same thing that happens with us, right? We have to go through different situations, experiences. Sometimes we lose our friends, not like in a death way where they actually like die, but like we lose them, right? People move on, people move, people get new jobs. You move, you gain new friends, you lose some old friends. And I'm just using friends. You can change it out with literally anything, jobs, experiences, whatever, right? The point is that usually something has to die in order for something new to take its place. However, the way that the Horseman of Death goes about it and Gabriel is usually pretty drastically different. Gabriel pushes you to go through death and transformation, yes, to make room for new things and actually grow and ascend and actually come into a new experience, but he usually does it in a very calculated and somewhat expected kind of way. However, that doesn't take away from the experience being any less painful, right? Death usually is a painful experience, whether or not it's actually someone literally dying, or you're losing a friend, or a new job, or some other kind of new experience. In some way, shape, or form, there's a little pain that comes along with death. However, the Horseman of Death does not really share this calm, collected, and calculated loss or gain, depending on how you want to look at it. It's usually very violent, very chaotic, and very unrelenting in a way. And obviously, this is not a very fun experience. Now, with the Four Horsemen all being about the negative aspects, this represents the more painful side of death and transformation. Pretty much just the death part where you start losing things, you're not able to actually replace them with anything else. Everything seems kind of like it's being ripped away from you and nothing new is taking its place. Now, yes, growth does take a while.
Facts.
But you'll know when these two beings are, well, I guess they're the same being. You'll know which one you're dealing with when the time comes. Now, usually, of course, this is only bad for the current world powers or people in power, people who hold high positions of authority, because if you're at the top of the ladder and the ladder gets ripped away from you, you're going back down. So that's usually the more painful part of this experience, and that's usually the people that are targeted at the Horseman or the Horseman of Death's targets is usually the people who are already on top of the ladder because you're being dicks. You're in charge, you're supposed to make things better for everybody else, yet you're not. So what are you doing?
I don't want to do things. I want to not do things, just like you taught me.
So the Horseman of Death is pretty much just targeted at people who are making things stagnant and not changing, not allowing new things to grow. So they're the ones that actually experience the negative side of the Horseman side of Gabriel, where it's like death, but no transformation. Instead of people who are like actually trying to experience and actually ascend and actually learn and grow, they experience the death and the transformation part. Another way to understand this is that Gabriel usually makes his influences somewhat clear. You know what's dying and why it's dying and what you have to let go of in order for you to change and transform. However, the Horseman of Death spares no casualties. It'll just take and take and take until you're like, oh, duh, this. Gabriel usually is a little bit more calculated and expected in his influences. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that he does not care and will just start taking things in order for you to actually go through experiences and grow.
I don't give a shit.
However, you have to understand the difference between Death and Gabriel is that Gabriel's actually pushing you to different experiences to actually gain things, gain knowledge and wisdom because he works with Uriel. Uriel's the one that's going to show you what you need to do. Gabriel's going to make sure that you do it. Simple as that. So, Gabriel, calculated death and usually expected transformations, and the Horseman of Death is just death. And unless you're a governing power, you don't really need to worry about it too much. But hey, stay aware that, hey, sometimes if you start getting stagnant and blind to certain situations, death may come in and just start taking things from you. So just be aware of that. But with that being said, that concludes us talking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. What horseman was your favorite? Although, I don't really know if anyone would have a favorite horseman considering the fact that they're kind of, negative. But let us know if there's anything else that you guys want us to talk about next. And until next time, fly high, y'all.